Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dustin Kircher. I got my partner here, Ben Dreiser, and we are part of MHP Nation. Today, we got two amazing guests that we've actually got to meet one of them in person at two of his parks. And so that was awesome to do. We have Tyler Lekas, and he's going to be on the show. He began his career as a financial advisor. He purchased his first park back in 2018 in Florida. We have his partner, Jason Postil, and he was a professional baseball player until about 2015. Afterwards, he joined a publicly traded real estate investment firm. And in 2019, he started his own full service commercial brokerage. Since then, Tyler and Jason's company, MHCI Group, has purchased 752 units in the Southeast, which they are the largest private owners of mobile home parks in Arkansas. So we're super happy to have them on the show. Like I said, we got to meet Tyler in person, wealth of knowledge, laid back, cool dude. And so we got them on the show to share their experience of how they've grown so fast over really what I think it was 3 years and becoming the largest mobile home park owners in Arkansas. So thanks, Tyler. Thanks, Jason, for coming on the show. Appreciate you coming on here.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Dustin.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
for sure.
Dustin, Ben. Appreciate you guys. It was a pleasure meeting you guys, and sounds like you guys are doing some big things out here in Arkansas.
We're trying. It was Arkansas after visiting has impressed us even more. That a lot of development going on in that area, as I'm guessing that's why it drove you guys there. You saw the economics happen and all the development. But so yeah, tell us a little bit more about yourselves. I know I gave a little brief bio, but I know there's so much more to unpack there that really will help contribute to the listeners understanding what you guys are doing and where you've gotten.
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Tyler Lekas. I started off in the financial world, so I traded fixed income on Wall Street for a number of years, and was working 120 hours a week, and I figured there had to be a better life than sitting in the office all day grinding on spreadsheets. And so I was looking for kind of other opportunities, and my dad ended up sending me an article about mobile home parks and kind of the cash flows behind mobile home parks and kind of the macroeconomics behind mobile home parks. And he kind of said tongue in cheek, these real estate guys aren't very smart. You can run numbers pretty well, so you should look into the asset class. And so I ended up diving into it a little bit. Bought my first park in 2018, and met Jason shortly after that. We got our teeth kicked in, and for a couple of years, and then found a couple of parks in Arkansas, and Katie barred the door because we came, shoveled coal and got that little engine up the hill. So Jason, you want to
Yeah. No, and thanks, Ben and Dustin, for having us on here. And yeah, I wish I was up there. I come in every quarter, every couple months to Arkansas, but yeah, I'm down here in Florida. And Jason Postil, you mentioned I'm out of college, played professional baseball for about 5 years, but I always knew that was going to come to an end, right? I knew that chapter could have gone 20 years, it went 5, right? But I knew at some point it was going to end. And so I heard a guy who was a big leaguer at it was a pro camp, one of my last years, and I heard him say he didn't make his millions in baseball. He made it in owning thousands of apartment units in South Detroit. I was like, oh, bingo. And I always had this passion for real estate, but I never really knew the direction. I didn't have family in it or really even a lot of friends to really get in it, but I gravitated towards commercial real estate. So about 8 years ago now, got into just more general real estate sales, and still have boutique brokerage, but I knew that wasn't it either, right? Going around selling homes, residential was not it at all. Nothing against it. Great business. It just wasn't for me. And I like the commercial and the numbers, more the numbers game. And long story short, ended up brokering some apartment buildings, working for some larger outfits, and then said, hey, it's time to go independent and get on the other side of this thing, and find all these deals for all these other guys. And I didn't have a 401k or any investment. I was like, it's time to get going. And gravitated towards the mobile home park space. Just felt that was a more safer asset class, you know, and plenty can argue, but nobody can argue that affordable housing has the demand across the nation, right? So that just felt right. And yeah, in 2018, met Tyler. Cold call is a funny story in itself, but you know, just
I've heard that story before.
we talk about it on sound because it's a good one too, though. Because
It is good.
especially have an agent or people that are scared to pick up a phone. It's like, you know, my father even told me he was in sales, and you know, he said one call could literally change your life, right? And so it's yeah, and generating business. I haven't found a better way. I know there's all this AI and ChatGPT but picking up the phone, getting a direct hit to them. I mean, I don't see anything that beats it to date. But
Can you tell the story? It is a really good one, and I'm sure you guys have said it on other podcasts, but it is really good. So please,
yeah. Tyler always has his other spin, so I'm not sure, but it was definitely a cold outreach. You know, it was probably the first or second week that I went independent from just, hey, I want to start doing my own thing, broker, but get on the investing side. And so I databased the whole East Coast of Florida, started just smiling and dialing, and sure enough, this is Jason, JP Capital. And he's like, who the F is JP Capital? Like hung up on my face. And I didn't even really get out what I wanted to tell. And then call him right back. And I was trying to buy. I had some investors, figured out kind of the syndication model where I didn't have to wait until I was sitting on piles of cash. And so he listened the second time and ended up getting a meeting. And but it was still a couple years of going through deals, just getting our tail kicked. But yeah, it was a cold call, and then hung up. Hey, call him back, and who knows? Never called him back. I don't know, but it was a good. It was
That's good. I'm glad you shared that, because it's important to realize, like, look, nothing's easy. You got to keep pushing forward. If you would have just given up, this relationship would have not happened, probably, right? I always tell our acquisition people is like, if you're not calling 3 times, are you really calling? Are you really dialing?
Well, I don't think he would have called me back because I insulted him basically on an offer. Like he had just bought this park. I gave him pretty much an offer on the same price. So yeah, it took a little persistence, but yeah, when your goals are aligned and you see each other's kind of work ethic, and but yeah, it's good. You gotta get over the fear of, you know, it's just another voice over the phone, right? So people that can't do it, you just gotta say, hey, you know what's more important, your goals, or I've messed up my name before, you know? It's like you just gotta do it. There's no magic bullet, but it's good.
You gotta go for the no. If you know you're going for the no, then you get that yes, and it all makes it worthwhile. So
yeah, and I mean, the thing I appreciated the most about it was he called back, and I mean, again, just my background was financial sales, so I was a financial advisor. So you know, I ate what I killed, you know, back then, and then so I made, you know, I would say I made 29,000 phone calls my first year in the business. That's how I cut my teeth. Woo. And so when he called back, I was like, this guy's got some balls. I like that. You know, like this is good stuff. You know, and I was, you know, flat broke at the time. I mean, I've told the story a couple times now, but you know, I was Ubering and doing a courier service for human organs. I had to get a special license for it because I spent all my money on that park in Titusville. I was just flat broke. And when Jason said he had, you know, investors, I was like, oh, that's interesting. So not only does the guy got some stones, but he's got some capital, and it seems like we had some synergies, and it was good, you know. And I'm stealing this from Jason, but he always says, you know, one phone call can change your life. So, and I don't know if I changed his life for the better or the worse. That's he's rolling the dice right now, you know. So
to be determined.
It was a good bet.
Part 2 and next year we'll catch up on that if it's worked out.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys are been working together now. Is it 3 years?
Since
2020 was our first deal that we actually got into, but really before that was where, I mean, I say 2 years, maybe it was a year and a half, maybe, but just that's how we really formed the partnership, because we didn't draw it out like, oh, Tyler, you're gonna do this, Jason's gonna do that. I mean, we're in business for ourselves because we stay on each other's hair, but we understand kind of what we're good at, what we excel, but it was probably a year and a half of just trying to get into a deal, and we couldn't make sense down here in Florida. You know, these 4.5, 5 caps, everything was so compressed.
Yeah.
Cash, quick close. Guys were putting non-refundable, $100,000 down day one. We're like, what the heck's going on? And it just, but yeah, we landed that first one, and it's kind of the law of the first deal, right?
Yep. So speaking of synergy and the team and focusing on your guys' strengths, which you guys know, what is it that each of you do within the team?
Yeah, so I'm more boots on the ground. So I do a lot more on the construction, the managing the contractors, on-site, on-site managers, blah, 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 kind of all that on the boots on the ground stuff that we do here. And Jason's going to mention this as well, but there's a lot of crossover. I mean, Jason's like, when I'm, tied up or, eating my Twinkie in my bed, one of the two, waiting for my government check. Jason's, sometimes he's on the phone talking with a manager or whatever, so there's a lot of overlap between our duties, but that's really my biggest value add is being boots on the ground and really keeping the managers in check and making sure contractors aren't taking us for a ride, because we talked about that, Ben, your background is being a GC, so it's important because your subs will kill you if you let them. So Jason, you want to?
Yeah. And it's been a good tag team effort too, because again, there's been no defined roles, right? But we've had, coming from the brokerage side, obviously, Tyler's had his skill set on the phone too, but I coming in, finding deals. Right now, even to this day, we've worked on an acquisition team, but really it's boiled down to, I'll just go through our database. Tyler's in Arkansas, so I'll more or less set the meeting for Tyler because it's not like a Florida where they're used to these guys from New York, California calling in and everything's virtual. Like, this is a good old boys club. They want to shake your hand, look you in the eye, and sit across from you. So that's worked out. But yeah, the systems, I'm definitely found out not a bookkeeper, right? We've finally sourced out that piece. But yeah, the back end, I like systems. We use Rep Manager, which is mind numbing in itself, right? But just the idea of the systems, right? Like, hey, I can put all, I like getting in there and going through, figuring out different systems and making things run a little more efficiently. But yeah, there's a lot of obviously overlap. Again, raising capital, sourcing the debt, talking to bankers, and there's a lot, but it's good.
Yeah.
I believe we visited the first park. Can you guys kind of walk us through? And you guys did a tremendous job because we went to the park and it was pretty nice. But Tyler, I think you told me that it wasn't very nice when you guys first got there. So can you guys kind of talk about that first deal and how it played out and what were the steps?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'll talk a little bit about the kind of the construction side and home infill, and then Jason, you want to take kind of the converting everybody to ACH and all that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So basically, yeah, this property had potholes so big that you couldn't drive a Humvee through them, so people were constantly complaining about blown out tires, this and that, it was terrible because a lot of these people drive cars that are more expensive than their mobile homes, and so our plan going in was it was actually a 2-park portfolio that we bought. So it was 68 total units. The property that you guys saw was called Pulaski Estates, and then the other property is called Pulaski Estates 2. I know took a real genius to do that. We're full of creativity over here, so we bought those 2 properties together. And our plan was to basically infill the vacant lots. It was about 70% occupied. And we thought the thing that was going to carry us through, which it has, is the tenant-owned home. So any of your listeners out there that are thinking about buying a bunch of park-owned homes or rent-to-own homes, and then also infilling on top of that, I would caution you against that because you're going to need some sort of backstop on the tenant-owned home side that's stabilized, consistent cash flow. Because a lot of those LOP guys and park-owned home guys, unless you're in a really strong market like Chicago or Miami or Orlando or New York or some California markets, if you can get it in at the, the right price, they're gonna flip every, 12 to 15 months. So those tenant-owned homes really backstopped us as we moved through this project. But we basically ended up dropping 12 brand new cash program homes at the bigger asset that you guys saw, Pulaski Estates, and you can kind of see those new homes scattered throughout the property there. And then the littler asset, we actually had an interesting strategy where we were buying trade-in homes from dealers. And for your listeners out there who don't know what I'm talking about is, when a person who owns a mobile home for, we'll say 30 years wants to trade in their home, well, the sales guy wants to put in a bigger price on that trade-in, even though it's probably not worth that much, because they want to use that as that trade-in as the person's down payment so that they can go then sell a new home to them and that person doesn't have to come out of pocket. So while that trade-in is coming back to their lot, they really don't want that home. They really want to get rid of that thing. So what they'll do for us is they say, look, buy it from us for $1,500. We'll take it directly to your property, right? And then you get to set it up there and do whatever you want with it. And so we actually put in 5 homes at that littler park, filled it up 100%. And we actually, and just to let your listeners know as well, we actually sold those to a Lonnie dealer for $4,000 a piece, and we had about $8,000 into each one of those homes between the cost of the home, the skirting, the steps, utility hookups, and HVAC. So we did all that, but we didn't do actually any of the rehab yet, right? So we lost about half of our money in each one of those homes, and the reason we did that is to make those homes tenant-owned. And it has paid off dividends for us. None of those homes have left the property. We didn't do any of the rehab. And now it's been almost 4 years of collecting lot rent and bumping those rents up each year. So we just offload those homes. If you can do that in your model, do it. Because you don't want park owned homes. Trust me on that. You want to get rid of those as fast as humanly possible, So again, just to let you know the strategy there and kind of the infill. But that was basically it. We went in, we paved the roads, we infilled close to 20 homes between the two properties, between cash program homes and kind of those trade-in homes that I was talking about. And we redid, God knows how many feet of sewer line and water line in those properties, thousands probably, because they were old and whatever. So that was kind of the big construction piece. And Jason will tell you about the kind of the system side of things.
Yeah, I mean, that was the big lift, obviously, but the little things that, if apartment guys hear this, they'd roll their eyes like, okay, online pay, like, of course, yeah, what do you think? Well, in our world, that's not, I mean, we just even converting the rent, like building out a rent roll, right? Like finding out who is even in there to import it into our rent manager, right? Like we're getting there's not even leases. So, I mean, when we say, oh, converting cash, we during due diligence didn't even have bank statements, right? So no lender would touch these. We ended up owner financing, but going into that, it's like you can't just trust a seller either. Oh, hey, I make 20,000 a month, or it's like, well, okay, how do we see this then? Like, where's the bag of cash? Like, and we've seen all sorts of stories, but in this particular deal, we asked, we said, okay, when is rent due? Usually collected. How is it collected? Okay, manager's in lot 6. He literally takes the cash. Okay, well, Tyler and I flew in during those days and we sat literally in that office and watched the cash exchange hands, right? And it's not something that they could have set up, right? Like, oh, hey guys, like nobody knew it was for sale. So we that was a way we were checking it, and then converting that cash. There was newsletter we had to translate in different languages because we had a language barrier there, right? And we couldn't even tell them our plan, right? So we were translating it, and then we ended up at one point thinking, oh, great, now we're all check, right? Hey, check. We thought that was like, oh my God, I can't believe this worked out. Well, just for your listeners, if you make this mistake, this is my brainchild too, so I'll take 100% of credit. Well, then what happened was we were just so happy to get rid of the cash that the checks started they started going down to the bank and depositing like blank checks. So we didn't even know who was depositing these. And then we were counting literally pennies, like, oh, Sally's at 362 cents, but then they'd round out, and it just turned into this other nightmare in itself where then we said, okay, well, there's got to be a better way, right? And then that was the Paylease, the Zagos of the world, right? There's a bunch of those companies.
Yep.
But it's just little things, you know, and maybe half your listeners or 90% are like, oh, okay, well, obviously, but maybe not, right? So it's like we say these because we walked into some things thinking, oh, just converting check, you know, into cash into check was great. Well, then there was that hiccup that I'd never even thought of. But yeah, converting cash pay, online pay, and some people don't have checking accounts too, right? So that's where like the cash pay was great, where now we were able to just generate an ID for them to go down to Walmart and just give that number, and we know exactly who it is. And so it's just those little things. It's not as big of a lift as like, you know, Tyler just mentioned bringing in all these homes and the construction side, but yeah, just those little things were definitely a learning experience. But
Yeah, I mean, both of them are headaches, right? It's just, but you have to get them dialed in. Otherwise, you don't have a good managing running park, and that's the goal, right? And you, like you said, you bought a park that was underperforming, and now you got to get in there to do it. So that is, you know, that's smart that you guys actually went in there on when rent was due. You know, that was part of your due diligence, and watch how much was coming in to track that, right? Because we've looked at parks. We have one right now too that potentially basically sellers ready to go, but they don't have the books, and so it's kind of like that's one of the things you're going to have to either get an amazing discount on the deal. I mean, you still probably should get a discount on the deal, but either way is actually go and track the cash coming in, cash going out, you know, and probably you need to have a longer due diligence period too, because that takes a little bit of time. You can't run your due diligence in 30, 45 days on something like that.
right.
So I'm glad you brought that up. That's awesome.
100%.
So I know offline we were talking about you guys. So you're at 752 parks. You have 2 other big parks basically in escrow, and we were talking about raising capital, right? And just the constant struggle of doing that. You want to elaborate a little bit on that and what's been your struggle? And because I think your guys' business model and our business model on keeping these things long-term, building generational wealth, you know, having our investors paid back, and then still having infinite returns basically at that point. That's our goal too, right? And that's your guys' goal, and you guys have been doing it. So talk about a little bit of the struggles you've been having on raising capital. And I know you guys are trying to raise capital for 2 parks right now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I'll give my take and Tyler hop in here, but yeah, I mean, the capital raising side that's the question, right? Oh, how the deals? Well, the deals are pretty easy to explain just because we have our process, and that's what we've done. And it's always, oh, deals and capital, right? And then the management, all that doesn't get talked about as much, which arguably is one of the most important things in itself. But yeah, the capital raise, like there hasn't been a magic bullet there either, right? Every deal literally has been, because I'd love to just get an answer. Oh yeah, hey, we got a family office, they just fuel it and boom. And it's been so different, literally every deal. And we've now, you know, across the 700 sites, that's 16 communities, which you do the math, they're relatively smaller deals, right? Average 40 sites, our largest asset's 122. But stringing together those smaller deals, it has taken just, you know, the dentist that has 50 grand, or, you know, you go through the friends and family circle, and then, well, you know, that taps out. Well, then you hope to get to a place where you have some case studies to then get a little noisier about it. And and then it's been a mix of people inquiring on our portfolio, and then having those, I mean, it's really been just so random to the point where these 2 larger deals we have now are where we're doing the 506C, right? So it's the first time we've actually gotten noisy about it, because we've legally been able to do that. But yeah, I know I'm not giving the best answer either, but it's literally started out. I mean, Tyler and I were going to local RIAs together. Remember, Tyler? That was like back in the early, like 4 or 5 years ago, when we started just trying to shake as many trees as possible. And it's still kind of that way. You know, we're getting a little more content out there, and obviously now having a little track record is attracting a little more, but we didn't have the track record. You know, Tyler had more so than I owning a park, but yeah, it was just letting people know you're in the space, right? You can't do business with people that don't know what you do, up
Yep.
until probably even still now. Some people are like, oh, Jason's real estate, but what you sell homes, or like they still don't even get it, right? And that's my fault, right? To not tell what I do. So
Yeah.
maybe Tyler has a better answer. I know that was almost like a zero, like, but
No, it's good.
No, it's been random. I mean, as Jason said, it's
Yeah.
been completely random. And I mean, definitely the struggles that we're going through right now is like we probably have more traction right now than we've had in the past. But the raise is so much larger that it's almost like we're not making a dent in it. And it's not like we can go to our previous guys who kind of funded some of our deals. Hey, look, we're looking to do, well, we could go to two of our previous guys. They've got a lot of capital, but they don't want to agree to our structure. They want to take a really big piece. And at this point, Jason and I know how much work are they go into these assets. We think it's going to be worth it, but again, as the Joker said in The Dark Knight, if you're good at something, don't do it for free. And I agree with that. And we cut our teeth for a long time with guys that really took advantage of us when we were putting in 50% of the capital, doing 100% of the work, and giving them returns first. And we're not going back there. And that was good. That was a good learning experience for it. We're not doing that again. So we rather raise it with people that understand our value and understand that they're going to get a good return out of this, but also we're going to make money in this as well. So it's definitely, the capital raising is very difficult. It's very difficult getting a brand name out there. And it's also difficult competing with folks who not only have a brand name, but are also probably generating a little bit larger returns in some of their deals as well. Like if you're competing against a development deal, I would argue that the risk-adjusted returns from mobile home parks are going to be significantly better. But some people just flip us the bird and say, this is a 40 IRR, you guys were at 18, and we're like, well, yeah, I think you're taking different risks here, but we could be wrong. So you've definitely got some headwinds there, but I think we're in this most secure asset class on the planet, and I always fall back on that. So I mean, the two deals we're raising for right now is 281 units. I think you're getting institutional scale and the best risk-adjusted asset class on the planet with the only declining commercial real estate asset class that I know of out there, and that 50% of all Americans needs $500 or less in housing costs, and that we are it. I mean, apartments are eclipsing that by double or triple, so, again, but capital raising, again, back to your original question without, going off down a rabbit hole. It's difficult. It's very difficult. And it's very, very hard to do. It's very hard to build your name. So, we love new investors, and I'm sure you guys could speak to that as well, because raising capital is hard.
Yeah, I mean, we experienced the same thing. I mean, both Ben and I have been in real estate for investing for 19 years now, mainly on the single family side, but even like now we're raising more funds on the mobile home park side, and it's tough. Like, you get commitments, you even get people reaching out to you saying, hey, we want to invest with you when you get something, and we've been in Esco on 3 other parks. Unfortunately, we had to back out because of due diligence, and basically, financials not coming back. It was a all cash system, and there was no way of tracking in, and then zoning issues, title issues. But anyways, when you go back to them, when you got a park that's ready to go, it's like, oh, I've already placed my money into something else, because a smart investor is not going to let their money just sit there waiting for you. They're placing their money somewhere. And so that's been our, the case that we've learned. And, it's just now hitting the phones, and anybody and everybody that we thought about or we know of that is wanting or is investing, it's just getting on the phones with them. It's working with other people that are connected with others, and, try and figure that out. But you mentioned this is the first one that you started basically a syndication of 506C, right? How's been that process? What's the timeline of getting that together? I know there's, that's a pretty hefty cost too. And I feel like a lot of people, when they get started in this or any kind of commercial investing, and is they don't realize the cost to even get started and set it up properly. And the money that you maybe might ask like an acquisition fee in the beginning is covering these costs that, sometimes you don't recoup. So tell us a little bit about that process.
Yeah, that's a good, yeah, you don't recoup some of that. So, I mean, the fees, just to touch, and I'll get back to the syndication question, because I think that's the main question is like, what does that look like, right? What is the setup cost, timelines? But just to kind of take a sidestep on the fee, that's not talked about a whole lot other than just, oh, they're feeing everybody to death. Some investors might say that if some groups are, Tyler and I mean, can't speak for Tyler, but I think on this one, we thought we were heroes, like, oh, no fees, no, and early on, and to the example Tyler gave with, hey, us coming in with 50% of the capital, 100% of the workload, and then not taking fees, and these projects are 3-5 year deal, like, how are we eating? Well, we're not at that point. We actually had a investor not too long ago that said he wasn't going to invest because we weren't even taking an asset management fee, and we weren't going to be aligned if a project went kind of south, and we would just take off. I mean, I didn't argue, but I did make the rebuttal that, we personally guarantee these, so we clearly believe in them. But we do take fees now that are rightfully due, because to your point, Dustin, is, there's a lot of upfront costs, the due diligence, right? I think a deal we've already spent maybe 10 or 15 grand on legal, that the deal blew up, right? Just before we even got into really contract, there was just red lines and back and forth for months. So nobody's recouping that. Like, we're not recouping that cost. So, these fees that we do take now, they not only allow us to eat during the project, but it does cover some of that due diligence, the sewer scopes, the earnest money, right? There's a lot of those, the PPM. So I'll get back to your question. We've done a 506B. So, that's 10 grand. And for the listeners too, I'm the delusional optimist of the group here, where I thought, oh, hey, I read a book and I got some PPMs I can just kind of duct tape together and I can make it our own and save 10 grand. And that doesn't work, right? Not saying that's impossible. It got ripped to shred on a syndication attorney, and I don't see getting it done for less than 10 grand, right? So I think we spent maybe 13, and Tyler can correct me, but yeah, so we've done a couple 506B offerings, so it's been quiet. We've had it kind of raised behind the scenes, but yeah, that's about the cost. We're about to draft up just now. It's Gene Trowbridge is a well-known guy in the space. He wrote the book on it, right? A Whole New Business, which is a good book. But we're doing a 506C there, and yeah, we're looking at about 15 grand to do the sub agreement, the private placement. Just to get the docs form, and it can be done in a matter of a couple weeks. So timeline wise, we're telling our investors now, because we're raising, we will have those done in the next probably week and a half, 2 weeks, but that's kind of timelines. Or Tyler, hop in here, man, if you had anything I missed on.
No, that was perfect. Yeah, a lot of guys think it's like 100K to go out and start these things. It's not that expensive. We have to think about, the PPM and all that. And then, if you are raising from all 50 states, you're going to have to get blue sky in all 50 states. That might start getting a little bit more expensive. But I don't know how you even spend over 50K, on one of these, syndications. And there's going to be, if you're including, an investor relations team, and you're including, back off, and you're including some of those things, then yeah, the salaries are going to start really adding up really quick. But as far as just the paperwork goes and getting everything blue skied, I mean, I would guess, $20,000, kind of all in $25,000. So, and we've done some 506Bs before, as well. And again, those cost, between, 10 and 12,000. And we had always really small 506Cs. So it's always, 4 to 8 investors, and they always were usually living in the same geographical location. So all you had to do is get blue sky in those states. So that's really it. So yeah, no, Jason, you nailed it. Yeah, I mean, it's not it's not cheap, but it's not terribly expensive. So.
And for those that are new listening to this, a 506B is basically non-accredited investors. 506C is accredited investors, right? So, and you can look up what makes an investor accredited and the process you have to go through to do that. So share that with you guys. But
and the C as well, just for again all your listeners out there, you're allowed to go on social media and kind of blast it out on social media. And then the B, you're not allowed to go solicit except on pre-existing relationships. And if you want to know what a pre-existing relationship is, I'm not going to define it on this podcast because I am not an attorney. So you go ask the attorney about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is what attracted us to that 506B early on, is you can have up to 35 non-accredited, right? So that's kind of where the friends family, if you know, teachers, and I'm not saying, I mean, you can be a teacher and be accredited, right? But you got to make over 200 or the net worth. So, but yeah, that's what attracted us there, is we kind of had that group and could allow. But yeah, the 506C, you're right, Dustin, you can only have the accredited. So
One of the mistakes I think we made on some of the prior deals was our escrow period time. And now, even taking into consideration raising of capital, what do you guys like to see for your due diligence period? Because obviously, one is the due diligence, but then the raising of the capital, which we're finding as well, also requires time and to get everything in place. So what's something that you think feels comfortable and is a good target to try to go for when trying to getting these under contract?
Yeah, you know, our normal, again, if we're assuming no seller financing, we always do a 45-day DD period, 45-day financing period, and then a 15-day close. And usually, for all of our sellers out there, we love you, and our brokers out there, we also love you, but we also usually ask for a little bit more time. So if they're listening to this, we're not asking for extensions because we think it's a funny joke, but it's usually between the capital raise and the bank and the hard due diligence after you kind of get the financials back. There's usually, you know, 15 to 30-day extension there. So we're closing most of our deals in 3.5, 4 months.
And then you said 45-day DD, so that's you doing any due diligence on the property. The 45-day financing starts after the DD, correct?
Correct.
And then does that mean in your contract, you can actually get all your earnest money back? If you're not able to get the financing in that second 45-day period, you're able to kind of cancel the deal and get all earnest monies back, correct?
Ideally, yeah. And there's a lot of, the more sophisticated sellers are going to push back against that. They're going to want that money to go hard after the due diligence period. So, but it depends on how sophisticated they are. And for all your listeners out there, if everybody thinks that contract negotiations go smoothly before you get the people under contract, there's about 0 sellers out there that are going to just accept your contract. We've had contracts that have literally been completely rewritten by sellers before. They have redlined the entire contract and sent it back to us with their own language, literally. So just if you're new and you're trying to get into the business and you want to be an operator, just know that's one of the many pieces that nobody ever tells you about. That contract negotiation can sometimes go on for 6 months. And you go back and forth on red lines. So just heads up on that. And it obviously depends on the length of your contract and all the rest of that stuff as well. So just, you know, get the word to the wise. Something I never expected to. I usually just, you sign the dotted line and we'll start moving, but it doesn't work out like that. So
what's been your biggest struggle so far, the biggest challenge so far in the mobile home park space?
I mean, for, you know, the management side, building that out, you know, is never having built a management company before, right? It's one thing to know how to find a deal and put the deal together, but then managing the deals another, and then building out the company that's actually managing that, right? Again, coming from an apartment side, that's what I would have leaned on heavily, right? Hey, third party, we'll just pick all the 5 stars on Google and go through that route. Well, I'm glad it didn't happen, right? Because I've learned so much, just all the ins and outs. But the challenge is just the quality, right? Especially on those smaller assets, 18 spaces, 30. You know, when we take these over, they're $150 lot rent. You're not getting a manager for that. You know, the whole, hey, we'll give them a free place to live and then $500. Well, that's still nothing to have quality. So, you know, up to this point, where we're just now actually next week bringing on a district manager role, right? That's going to be in that 60, 70, 80 upwards. They'll grow into that $100,000. And you don't have that starting on. So that's where Tyler and I were the managers. And then we found a better one. And then we took on a few more properties, supported a little bit better salary. So, I mean, I would say the short is just really getting the quality and then getting those policy and procedures in place to train maybe a not so great manager that has the right training and direction. So building out, you know, the policy procedures coupled with just quality management's probably been one of the bigger struggles. I think I would say. Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. The management side of things is really difficult. And for anybody out there that's looking to get into mobile home parks, my recommendation is if you start with small parks, you're gonna have to buy a lot of them to really get a quality manager. So just know that going into it, because even a 40 space park at 100% occupancy and everybody pays, there's no bad debt or anything. Even if it was $400 a month lot rent, you're never going to be able to pay somebody even 30 grand a year and float all the operating expenses. So just know that going into it, the reason everybody wants scale is because the mobile home park, you know, I put this in quotes because it's not exactly how you're supposed to use it, but the economies of scale of mobile home parks are the rent is so much less than apartments that to pay somebody actual living wage of $30,000 or $40,000 a year is almost impossible. And that manager is everything about that park. You lose that manager, and your life is going to get real tough, especially if you're living in Arkansas and you bought a park in New York, right? I mean, those plane flights alone will kill that P&L.
Yeah.
So just be cognizant of that as your listeners kind of go out there and are purchasing parks or want to passively invest in the parks. You know, it's a huge deal. And I would say just second to that is the construction side, finding good contractors that you can trust and that can come in and rehab homes, pretty much any sort of lift property. When I say lift, like turnaround property that's going to have some upside, not just buying a 6 cap in Florida that has 100% occupancy and tapped out rents and everything else.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to go rehab some homes and managing those guys because contractors are for some reason are just built a little different. And I was joking around with you guys when you guys were out here. If they're not beating their wives or smoking meth, I don't know what's wrong with all of those guys. And again, Ben, you're the exception here. So not talking about you, but no, it's really tough to find those good subs, and really tough to find, especially a rehab crew that, finding rehab crews to remodel single family homes. That's a totally different crew than finding a crew that wants to rehab mobile homes, right? A lot of guys want to stay away from the mobile homes. They want to rehab single family houses. So you have a smaller pool and probably a smaller pool of guys that are probably not as highly qualified, that are doing versus doing $100,000 single family remodel,
Yeah.
So
you can't go after contractors where their trucks are fully decked out with their company logos and wrapped, but then you can't go with the contractors that have the trucks that are barely running because they're probably not going to show up to the job site the next day because their car's not running, right? So it's finding that good equal ground. And I come from a background of flipping houses, and that is the number one struggle I always had, was having the right contractors, right? And that is tough. But on the management side too, I get that. And both Ben and I've had operations. I've used to have a wholesaling operation, and making sure everybody's trained on had 10, 12 employees, and having SOPs and all that put in place to make sure everything is running when you're not there. That's also very tough. Both sides are tough. And that's why I'm a believer in partnerships and splitting responsibilities and having someone that is better. Like, I don't want to deal with the construction stuff. That's I've always had a project manager, and Ben knows the construction side very well. So, he takes on that side, and I'm doing more of Jason's role on the back end. Let's grow the business and and work on that side. So,
Amen.
right.
Yeah, partnerships are huge.
Yeah. So, a lot of the deals that you guys purchased, have they been seller financing? Have they been institutional lending? What's been the main purchase way of purchase?
Yeah, it's been a mix. You know, that first deal, the 68 unit, that was a seller financing, right? And for a few reasons, that was the one with all cat, right? A bank wouldn't have touched that. But where we've had a lot of success in, again, going back to the smaller deals, right? 18, 22, 33, talk to lenders, oh, we don't want to see anything under 2 million, or, oh, this has Parco and Home, or whatever it is. We found that the local community banks, once they've, and they're a relationship deal too. Not saying all banks aren't, or should be or shouldn't be, but Tyler being in the market, going to lunch with these guys, seeing, once they saw our first project, they see these deposits, they want those deposits. So really, that's where a lot of those, I don't know, at least half of them are small community banks. And then we even tapped out of one local bank, and they referred us. They said, hey, you guys are doing a great job. Our bank, we can only go up to like 1.6, which is usually backwards, right? We're like, oh, well, our minimum's like 2 million, and then it goes up. So then that CEO referred us to his buddy at another local community bank. And then so that's really where we've had a lot of success. But having the business plan, right? Having those bids and just the whole project laid out so that they see it, and putting together pretty good presentations where they see we have an idea of what we're going to do. Like, hey, we trust these guys. They're not just sending it to some other management team, or that's really where we've found a lot of success. Local community.
Very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to piggyback off that as well, and and this may be unusual for listeners, and I'm not going to tell any bankers' names because I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble. But really interesting thing is that we bought a lot of parks really quickly, and again, you can imagine, Jason and I only have so much bandwidth on our balance sheet. And banks are going to be looking at your balance sheet to support the loan. So they look at the borrower to say, look, we got to guarantee the loan payments, right? The debt service. If the property doesn't perform, we want the guarantors to support the debt service. So it's interesting. We built such a good relationship with some of our bankers out there that they actually started basically not looking at our balance sheets, because our balance sheets were tapped. But they really started looking at the asset to say, look, does this debt service coverage ratio cover? And they really said, look, send us over your PFS, blah, 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 blah. And then, we'll basically just get it through committee, because we know how well these assets have performed for the bank. And I'm not saying it's like that in every market. Arkansas is definitely a good old boys market. No ifs, ands, or buts there. But it's definitely, it was really cool for Jason and I. And I think it's for your listeners out there trying to get into these deals, these community banks are, again, it's going to take some massaging to do it because they're a little more unsophisticated. But I would highly recommend trying to make some friends down there, because if you can't get seller financing, those guys are your ticket in, right? They have more leeway than a Chase Bank. Chase Bank, you're just going to run into red tape after red tape after red tape. So keep pounding the pavement and calling banks, because you never know. Like our first deals that we did was with a bank that had one branch. It's now finally opened up its second branch, and that's the reason we got in there. They took a shot on us, and they gave us like an 82 LTV with the construction loan getting in the door.
Wow.
It was incredible. So low leverage, or a very high leverage deal, but low entry for us, So anyways, just again, for your listeners out there, I think that, just make sure you're pounding the pavement. Call every bank in your area. You never know. Walk in there. Have meetings with them if you're out of the market, if you're buying a deal. So I just highly recommend all that stuff.
Nice. Yeah.
Can you walk us through the financials of your new deal? Like, are you trying to get bank financing on the new deal that you're raising money? Is that money being raised for bringing in new homes? What what's the allocation of funds, and is there bank financing involved in there? Is it seller finance?
Yeah, so yes, so it's a kind of a strange deal. And I'll let Jason jump in here in like 2 seconds. But so the smaller deal, the 86 site deal, which is up in Jonesboro, Arkansas, it's so we're assuming a seller carry, right, from 2 sellers ago. So not the seller we're dealing with now, but the seller prior to that.
Okay.
So we're assuming a seller carry that's a first. And then the seller that we're dealing with now is carrying a seller second below this first seller carry. And then we're coming in with our equity. And then we also have a CapEx budget built into that. There's 21 vacant park-owned homes there. So the majority of that CapEx is going to go towards that. Another piece is going to go to like, you know, we got some potholes and signs and et cetera. So the second deal, that's no seller financing there. What we're doing is we're getting a first, you know, a bank note that's going to be first position. It's going to be an 8% interest only note. That's what Jason actually found that. And then we're coming in with our down payment, which is going to be 30% of the you know, of the bank. The bank knows our down payment. And then below that, we're actually raising $2 million in CapEx for that deal. And the reason we're raising so much money is because there's water line issues. There's a lot of park-owned homes that are older in there. You know, it looks like, you know, freaking, you know, the jungle that Amazon or that Tarzan, you know, was swinging from branches. You know, I mean, it's needs some tree work, and parts of the roads need to be paved. So again, it needs some work, and we're raising all that money because we've done these projects before in Arkansas. So, Jason, I miss anything?
No, that really nailed it. I mean, just to touch on the 8%, I mean, rates are still all over the place, right? I mean, we're looking at even refinancing what Tyler and I own together across seven parks, and you know, we're hearing 5.5, low 6 for agency. This full term interest only at 8%. That was pretty attractive to us for right now, because we feel, hey, this is a 5-year project. We'll get into agency in 5 years, and I mean, nobody has a crystal ball, but we think it should be lower at that point, right? So if it works now at 8, it's going to be a monster here in 5 years, regardless. But yeah, we definitely chop around. I mean, we make a lot of calls, right? If you can't get money, I don't know who said it, Dan Pena or somebody, you know, you're not calling enough people, right? Because even with balance sheet tapping out, there's a new bank somewhere that'll lend, right? Like Tyler's point there. If you go to that's what they're opening up for, is to dish out the money. So if they like you, your business plan, and can lend off the asset, that's where we had success. But yeah, we're excited about these, because you know, we're even looking, maybe even rolling that 2 million into that would, you know, for paying 8% on that, then maybe 10% to go raise the capital. So that's but yeah, that's what we're seeing right now, and how these deals are penciling out. But we're excited about it.
Yeah, one thing I think that Dustin has been better than myself, and just making it like a point, and you guys are obviously good with it, is raising enough capital for the deal, and not under raising and being in a position where now you're in the deal and now you need more funds. Did you guys ever run into that at the beginning, or did you guys always have a good grasp of knowing that you need to raise exactly what you need to raise, so you're not stuck in a hard place?
Yeah, when we got asked that, actually, last week, investor said, have you ever lost money, or have you ever had a capital call? Right? And those are two questions, like, those are yes or no question.
Yeah.
Well, we had that, like, no, and knock on wood, we have not, right? And unfortunately, we've over raised, where we've undershot a budget maybe on a home, but then we made up for it because we were over budget on something else. So it's penciled out. But yeah, we've definitely found that the quotes have changed a little bit. I mean, the supply issue, everything else, right? Inflation. I mean, numbers have definitely changed. But yeah, we definitely make sure, hey, we'd rather over raise, make sure we have a healthy reserve bucket. And we're not the guys that oh, here, we'll just pay, pay the pref out of the rate. Like I
Yeah.
think I've heard that somewhere. Again, we don't need to get into that, but like we make a reserve, right? That's healthy to support. If we're overshooting, we'd rather have that because we know things come up, right?
Yeah.
Last year was the year before, Tyler, that 40 years, like a freeze storm hasn't happened in 40 years. Had pipes bust all over. I mean, stuff that you just don't expect, right? So, yeah, fortunately, but you learn along the way, right? You don't know what you don't know, and things will definitely come up. So as long as we're overshooting the the returns might look lighter than really what they are, but we'd rather have that. It's like, hey, look, this is gonna be our conservative approach instead of painting some pie in the sky IRR or number that's gonna bait some investors. We'd rather just shoot straight and over budget, and if the returns pencil out better, then that's better for everybody. So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the reason why I do that now and underwrite these conservatively and over raise is just because when I started flipping houses, there was a couple of times where I underestimated the construction budget. And then I have to come back and be like, hey, can I get another $10,000, $15,000? And it's embarrassing because then it makes me look like an amateur, right? And so now I over raise and make sure that we have, like you said, a good reserve. Our construction budget's hefty with a contingency plans in there if something takes longer or we find other issues. As you know, once you start doing work, you realize there's other issues that you got to start addressing. So that's good. It is important that you guys are that's you guys are doing that. So I know we're approaching here about an hour, so I appreciate you guys spending your time and sharing your knowledge. Is there anything else that you guys would like to share about what have you guys done? Any things that the listeners should make sure they're paying attention to if they're getting to the mobile home park space or any kind of investing, right? Is there anything that you'd like to share before we jump off?
Yeah, I think if you're getting into mobile home park investing, my three biggest things I'd look at when you're looking at a property to buy is how many vacant pads there are and how you're going to infill those pads. So are you going to use a chattel lender? Are you going to buy used homes and rehab them, right? Because a broker coming out, and again, for any of the brokers that are watching this, we love you. We appreciate all your deal flow, but most of the time how brokers underwrite deals is terrible. So infilling those vacant pads is the toughest lift that you can do in the mobile home park space. So do not take that lightly.
Mhm.
We spent an extra almost $20,000 on that Pulaski Estates property because guess what? When we put in a couple of our new homes at some pads that hadn't been used in 20 years, well, guess what? There was literally no sewer pipe. There was a clean out there you could see, but all the underground sewer pipes had been torched by roots and erosion and everything else. So we had to go dig up all the concrete pads that were underneath there, trench a new line, and run it, a couple hundred feet. But between, anyways, all the intrinsic costs. So just saying, look at the infrastructure, look at where the home's going to go. How wide is the home? How long is the home? Anyways, all that stuff. So just be cognizant of that. Be cognizant of the age and the condition of the park-owned homes that you're buying in your property. Because again, if you're doing any sort of turnaround, you're most likely going to get park-owned homes. That rarely, if you're buying a mobile home park, you're going to get 0 park-owned homes in there, especially if you're doing a lift, a turnaround. And then third is the utility infrastructure. Is it on a lagoon? Is it a wastewater treatment plant? Is it on septic? Is it on well? Look at that stuff. If it is, do your due diligence. So just, you got to look at those 3 items. If you're buying a park, especially buying a turnaround park, and you got to assess the bids ahead of time. If you don't, you're just going to get eaten alive. Take it from Jason and I. We did a first couple of properties we did on our own, and we were definitely coughing a lot more cash out of our pockets than we thought we would. Because you don't know what you don't know, and we definitely have perfected our process since then. So, Jason, anything?
No, that was it. Yeah, I mean, my three is always the DD, right? The due diligence, going back to not reinventing the wheel, right? We follow the leaders in the space, and that's why we're on track to be one ourselves, right? Because we're following the process that others proven to get to that 10,000, right? So due diligence is huge. because things can come up that could just destroy your business model, right? And then the over raising, right? That couple months you find out it might not be a dead deal if you're well capitalized to have sewer pipes replaced, right? We just fixed 650 feet of line at another property, right? So, and then just having a long-term outlook, right? I think a lot of guys are near term, they want that quick flip, and those are great, but if this business, it's a long ride, and it's not an overnight deal. So that's really it.
Nice.
It's a beautiful
Very
business. So love it. But
It is.
Nice. One follow-up question to that, because you briefly mentioned it. Is there a certain type of asset that you're looking for? Does it have to be city sewer, city water? Can it be lagoon? Will it be septic? Can it be septic? What's the ideal park that you guys are looking for? Or will you, as long as the numbers make sense, you'll purchase it?
Yeah, we actually got asked this on Andrew Keel's podcast of the ideal park, and I'll give you, whatever. The ideal park we're looking for is over 100 spaces, city utilities, and all of the utilities are direct bill to the resident, meaning sewer, water, trash, gas, electric. And it's in a market like Orlando or Miami or super strong market. You're surrounded by $1 million homes on all sides of you, and all tenant-owned homes. And no bad debt when you walk in the door, and you're buying it at a 10 cap,
So now the real question is, how many of those do you actually own?
Yeah, well, we own one property that's close to that, and it's 120. It's our largest property in the portfolio. However, the risk that we took there is the size of the metro, right? It's in a really small town in Arkansas, and I tell you the name of it, but you'd never heard of it anyways. It's in a really small town, and there was 30% bad debt on that property. Well, the bad debt got cleaned up in 30 days, and which was unbelievable. And the small town was mitigated because we believe that Tyson Foods, that's their main supplier, is not going to leave there. So that's just our opinion on it. And basically that property right now is, our investors in that deal have $530,000 into that deal, and we're distributing between $15,000 and $20,000 a month to them right now.
Nice.
It's a monster.
Yeah.
So we'll do something like 50%, 50 to 60% on their money in basically 24 months, just out of distributions. It's a crazy good deal. So that's it. That's the only one we own that's like that. So Jason.
No, that's it. I mean, that's exactly it. Other than surrounded by $1 million house, but we can find more of those, we'll be all right.
Nice. Well, how can the listeners get in touch with you? Get in touch with MHCI Group. What's the best way?
Yeah, we're always on. I mean, mhcigroup.com is our outfit. You can find us there. We're always on the email. Jason at mhcigroup.com. Tyler, same. Tyler at mhcigroup.com. And Tyler's got some good content too there on LinkedIn. So shows you more on the ground. I get the boring stuff, the capital stack nobody cares about, but Tyler's got some good stories on the ground there. But Tyler, anything else I missed?
No, that's it. Yeah, I was just going to say, if you want to read a Charles Dickinson novel about private utilities, hop onto our LinkedIn, I think it's ready for anybody that's serious about the asset class. I think it's pretty good, but I also post some stupid stuff. Like we ran into an OnlyFans model at one of the property we were under due diligence on a couple of years ago. And, I had a chick, I call her a chick, but she looked like Brian Urlacher take a swing at me at one of our properties. And anyways, I tell funny stories like that as well. So you might be entertained by that. So pop onto our LinkedIn if you ever want to get a laugh or read some boring stuff about operations of mobile home parks. So yeah, but yeah, other than that, mhcigroup.com or Tyler at mhcigroup.com or Jason at MHCI Group is the best way to reach us. So
I'll second that. Tyler, you're very humble, but he's an incredible storyteller. His LinkedIn is great. You should definitely follow him because he's incredible. So we enjoyed also your hospitality when we were out there. Yeah. And 100% follow him. Wealth of knowledge and an incredible storyteller and great stories in the weeds. So it's great.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, Tyler, Jason, appreciate you guys coming on the show and sharing your stories and knowledge. I know it'll help out a lot of people listen to this. And I know if we had more time, we can get into more of those funny stories as we talked about a little bit at lunch when we were out there. And Jason, I'm pretty sure you got some of those dealing on your side too. So, but that'll have to be a part two. So once you
That's
guys close on these two bigger parks, then we'll talk again. But appreciate you guys coming on and sharing your time with us.
Yeah, Ben, Dustin, appreciate us having us on.
Dustin, Ben, thank you.
Thank you.